What's going on, guys? Chase on two wheels, and in front of me, I have a wonderful freaking build to bring to you guys today. So what you're seeing is a 2023 BMW RnineT Urban GS that has been custom built by Continental, and they are letting me do a first ride on it today. This is a build they did with Wonderlic, and I think it's absolutely phenomenal. The last time I rode an RnineT was in 2015, so it was quite a while ago. I am so excited to check this one out. You guys stick around to the end of the video, and I'll tell you if it's a purchase or a pass, even though you can't purchase it. But we'll be able to see what you can turn an RnineT into. But it's a first ride. Let's see what it looks like, and let's see what it sounds like. That? Do you guys know you can get a discount on Cardos? The link in the description if you use C2W Cardo. Save yourself some money and listen to some cool tunes. Bye-bye. So guys, that's what it looks like. That's what it sounds like. And this video is sponsored by Continental. Obviously, I wouldn't have the bike without them. Now, guys, the parts list for all of the customization that these guys have done is so extensive, I would be here for 15 minutes. So I'm going to cut to a shot, and we're going to go over every single upgrade that this bike has done. It has a lot. Let's jump to it now. I told you guys, this bike has so much freaking done to it. You can see why there's no way I would remember that while riding. A lot of cool stuff, though, but I'm going to get the phone on the quad lock, and we're going to get this thing going, guys. I am stoked. I think this looks so good. Cannot wait to ride it. Can't believe Conti's letting me ride this thing, so shout out to those guys. All right, guys, I'm 5'10", got a 32-inch inseam, and as I'm sitting on here roasting my nuts on this bike, I have slightly bent legs, and I can flat foot the bike. Love being able to do that. Let's get this cranked up. Also, look at the little Continental key. It's a little tire. How freaking adorable is that? That boxer engine rotating side to side. All right, guys, so to go through the modes real quick, we are in road mode. We also have the options of dirt and rain. We're going to start in rain mode. I will eventually go to road mode, but we'll do rain mode to start just so we can get a vibe. And without further ado, before I burn down, let's get her going. Also, guys, you guys know I tell you all the time, we've given up on YouTube letting you guys know that we do first rides or put videos out. So if you guys want to be alerted when we put videos out, we're doing an email list these days. You can join it. It costs nothing, and we just send you one email a week letting you know what happened on the channel and throwing in some fun stuff here and there. So If you guys want to go check it out, links in the description. And I'll see you in your inbox. Alrighty, our opportunity is here, my friends. Let's get this thing going. Woohoo! That was more power in rain mode than I kind of was ready for. That's always pleasant to feel. So guys, in prepping up for this video, I did some research on the RnineT because you guys know I don't have a great relationship with BMW. I don't have any relationship with BMW, so we don't get to do a lot of them on the channel. So I'm not super familiar with all the bikes in their lineup, and found out in 2023 there were 3 models of the RnineT. This one specifically is the Urban GS. I'm not going to go into the differences of all those models, but just did want to like lay that groundwork. And not only is it Urban GS, but it has been customized to hell thanks to the people over at Wonderlic. So this is going to be pretty exciting. I always like doing BMW first rides. I think the engines and the bikes themselves are phenomenal. And I'm hoping to get a better relationship with BMW moving forward. Oh, I forgot to tell you guys, this bike has a little secret, but I'll show it to you when we go into road mode. Alrighty guys, it's first ride. Let's talk about body position on the RnineT Urban GS. So honestly, really comfortable position. The seat is a little hard. I'm gonna have to keep an eye on that so far. It's not bad for like a short little ride, but I do feel like it's gonna get a little uncomfortable after a long day of riding. Now, as far as body position wise, my lower half is really comfortable, pretty relaxed. My legs are only slightly behind me. And my upper half is kind of interesting. I do kind of feel like I'm sitting far back on the bike, and I feel like I have to lean up a little bit. You can see my arms are only slightly bent, and the handlebars only come up so much. Honestly, this is a really comfortable, like, urban situation, body position. I find myself super comfortable. I love the leverage I have on the handlebars, and seems pretty solid. I'm very happy with the body position here. Other than the seat, I do wish the seat was a little more comfortable, but I wouldn't complain too much. All right, so guys, since we are getting this red light, let's go ahead and hit the mode button and go into road mode. We are now into road mode, so we should have a little more power. Rain mode capped off a decent amount of power, but I was surprised at how much it kept in the top end. Now, you guys have heard the bike while we've been in rain mode, and you've probably been asking yourself, Chase, that's surprisingly quiet for a motorcycle. That is why this button is here. So, the exhaust that this bike has on it is called a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. They are known for exhaust that you can, with a button that you obviously install on the bike, you can make it quiet and you can make it loud with the press of a button. I'm not going to press it yet. I'm going to wait till we're going because I feel like that's the best, like, on-off you can audibly hear. I'm going to press that button, and I'll let you guys hear what this bike sounds like. Actually, to hell with that. Here's a rev. Okay. Activating exhaust. Is that not night and freaking day? You could literally crank your bike up in the morning, not piss off any of your neighbors, and the second you get out of your subdivision, boop, and now you're rolling with a bike that sounds great. I think that is hilarious, and I kind of love it for the usability. Also, if it's not obvious, we will be in loud mode for the rest of this video. Oh, that's awesome. I love it so much. All right, guys, so now that we're in road mode, let's go over some of the stats as this Highlander goes into the turn lane as slow as possible. So we are on a 1198, I believe, cc Boxer engine. This is the engine that BMW is famous for. It's been in their GS. They have a ton of bikes with this engine in it. And the engine is good for power numbers, looking at, I believe, 108 horsepower and 80 foot-pounds of torque. So it is a relatively stout engine, especially in the torque department. Another big deal of this engine and the bikes it's in is how low slung the weight is. You guys can see how big that thing is, and it's so low, it allows you to balance the bike really easily, or at least that's been in my experience on the bikes that I've ridden with a Boxer engine. It's funny, these cylinders are so big, you can't just do a quick rev, you have to do a... That's how you have to get the cylinders moving to really get some sound out of it. Alrighty guys, let's talk about city performance with the Urban GS here, the RnineT. So, that low center of gravity with the engine is going to be your best friend when it comes to city performance. With the weight down low like that, it makes the bike super easy to balance, and it feels like you can just throw the bike around super simply, even though this is a very heavy motorcycle relative to other bikes in its class. I believe it's like 491 pounds, if I remember correctly. So you were talking about a hefty boy, but luckily, because of the engine location, it does not feel like that. Even once I'm getting stopped and I lean the bike over, it really doesn't feel like 491 pounds or however much it weighs. It's surprising what BMW does with this Boxer engine. All right, guys, now, as far as power delivery here on city streets, you're gonna love the amount of torque that this bike has, because it just shoots off a line so quick. It's so fun to ride around. You've got so much torque just on tap at all times. And that's the kind of power you need on city streets, because you're not really going to have the area to really rev the bike out. So having a bike that's full of torque is so fun here, and I think it's going to be very enjoyable. I am realizing when I downshift and shift down, because of the Boxer engine, and this is a characteristic of the Boxer engine, it kind of rotates side to side. So when I rev match and I downshift, the bike kind of shifts a little bit. Very much character in the Boxer engine. I'm over here downshifting and the bike's like, okay. It's kind of fun, though. It's kind of fun to be like, hey, the engine's like shaking its head at me or something. What levers are these? Because I absolutely love them. I'm going to have to look into these things whenever we get stopped later in the video. They are literally fantastic. This bike is way too fast off the line. It does not look or feel like a bike that would propel you forward that quick. And then you get one of those things where you know how you're riding around, you're like, I wonder how fast the bike would accelerate right now. You guys know you think about that. And if you're telling me you don't, you're lying to me. But then you do that off the line with this bike, you literally get thrown back and you're like, oh shit. I feel that 80 horsepower from the get-go. This is another situation that's really nice for the Boxer engine, is the body position I'm in is very easy to get my legs to the ground. You know, in shitty riding situations and a lot of traffic, you're going to be braking and stopping and braking and stopping. And the easy ability to get my leg up and down off the kickstand. Oh my God, not kickstand, foot peg. Come on, Chase. Jesus Christ, dude, look at that brake pad. Or that brake pedal. Look at that. That's like a car brake pedal. That's hilarious. It might be heavy, but it's low, and that means I can balance it well. I don't know if this thing can stall. It's just chugging along. It has so much torque on tap that it just goes. Look at this. No clutch. Just puttering along. That's awesome. I love torque. I truly love torque. I have a love affair with torque. It's my favorite. It's so much more fun. That engine is so strange, man. Even when you do anything with the bike, everything there has a little bit of like sideways feel to it, no matter what you do. You know, guys, as I'm accelerating on the city streets here, I am noticing there's a little bit of a delay when I give the bike power, or when I, give it throttle. There is a little bit of a delay between when you throttle on and when you feel the power kick on. And I don't really know how to explain it. It's kind of weird. I wonder if it's the size of the cylinders and they are so big that it takes time to get them moving. And I'm wondering if that's what I'm feeling. All right, watch me downshift. Watch how the bike moves. Do you guys notice it moves a little bit? That's what I'm talking about. And the same thing happens when you give it throttle too. And rev it, honestly. If you just pull the clutch in, this thing will wheelie so easy. Oh my God, I gotta be super careful. Hey, it gets people out of the way. Thank you, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde Exhaust, for that. We appreciate it. That's such a cool feeling when the bike goes sideways. It's not best for speed, because you're losing the stability of the bike a little bit. It's not, really as stable as it could be, but it's kind of freaking cool, not gonna lie. You gotta enjoy a bike with some character, you know what I mean? Also, I am noticing, talking about engine braking super fast, I either feel like there's a ton of engine braking or there's like next to zero, and it is entirely dependent on the gear I'm in. And I know that sounds kind of obvious, but sometimes like engine braking is always like a little more or a little less. But the engine braking on this bike is literally like night and day. That's the two options. It's either non-existent or very strong. It's kind of weird. I don't know if it's a specific gear that I'm in or a specific rev range that I'm in. Kind of weird. Keeping an eye on it. Also, it seems like that rev counter is a little off because I'm pretty sure the bike is not idling at 7,700 right now. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm not. I think the highway is going to be super interesting on this thing. They've got the modified, not only does the Urban GS come with a bigger windscreen, that's this little guy, but they also have a bigger windscreen on it, so this should be really interesting once we get on the highway. I am in road mode just to confirm. All right, guys, it is time for our 40 miles an hour to 80 miles an hour test. Thanks to our buddies over at Law Tigers. We got to see how fast this thing will get from 40 miles an hour to 80 miles an hour. I'm in road mode, and I think this might be a second gear bike for this. We're going to have to find out. We got a lot of torque, so we're going to have to figure it out here together. All right, that's second gear. And we got an old school dash, too. This should be interesting. All right, guys, Law Tigers are motorcycle lawyer friends. Use them if you get in trouble on the road. 40 to 80, let's do it. On your mark. Get set. Go. And 80 is there. Ah! Might have been able to do that in first gear. Not really sure. All right, let's get in traffic. What's that time, Chris? What's that time? So we got no gear indicator, so I'm going to have to find 6. I just want to be chilling on the highway. All right, that's where it's at. All right, guys, we're here on the highway with the 2023 BMW RnineT Urban GS. So initial feeling is I'm getting a lot of wind hitting me right there, coming straight at you guys, basically. It's bobbling my head a decent amount. My arm's got a ton of wind. This is doing some help to get it off my chest, but it is making my head bobble a bit, so that's less than ideal, but at least I'm not getting pushed back. As far as stability on the highway, that weight is super helpful. I feel super stable, no problems here. Luckily, we do have cruise control, so I'm going to turn it on now and then set it. There it's on, now I'm setting it. Cruise control, super freaking nice. Very easy to use cruise control too, it's just with one finger. So we appreciate that. Can I disengage it by going forward? I can. All right, I love that. So guys, as far as vibrations, I am in a higher gear, and I am feeling some vibration in my seat. I'm feeling a decent amount in the handlebars, more in the handlebars than I really wish there was. And then I am also feeling some vibration in my feet, but not too bad. As far as power on the highway, I can still give it some, and I've got plenty of power to get me going around traffic. Absolutely no issues there. Really, the only issue here on the highway is the amount of vibration in my handlebars and the wind jostling my head around. Otherwise, this thing feels great here on the highway. Maybe if I had like a bigger screen. That's weird that this stuff vibrates independent of that. That's freaking me out. Probably not an issue. I hope not. We'll find out. Anyways, guys, that's it for the highway, I think. We're going to do a little montage to finish me up on the highway. Thanks to our buddies over at Cardo. I'm going to listen to some music, and I'll catch you guys at the end of it. Guys, that is all the highway road. Thank you, Cardo, for providing us with the absolute best Bluetooth communicators on the market. If you guys want to get one for yourself, discount link in the description down below. You're welcome. Thank you, Cardo. Let's get this thing leaned over. We got Öhlins suspension front and rear and a front Öhlins damper. It should be better than a regular RnineT. And that is not what I expected for this big old thing leaning it over. So freaking compliant, feels so good. I definitely need an Olin suspension in my life. Oh my goodness. Dude, this bike has no business feeling that good leaning it over. This much weight, that much torque, and still feels this good? That's awesome. All right, guys, now that we've gotten off the highway and we've done city riding, let's talk about the engine and how it performs. Definitely torquey, definitely going to give you that power off the line, but you are going to need to be shifting up through those gears relatively quickly because you're going to run out of power as you try to rev it out. The Olin suspension that they have put on the front and rear here feel absolutely amazing, and they're customizable. So not customizable, adjustable. Amazing decision to put a set of Olins on this bike. That transforms how this bike feels getting it leaned over. Now, as far as the transmission goes, it depends on the gear you're in, but the transmission, you get a very hard hit. And that's that sideways thing that we were talking about. You guys might be able to see the bike move side to side. But when you change gears, you are getting a very positive feel. The only problem I don't like with the transmission is when I go all the way down, so I'm in first now, but if I try to shift down in first, it just kind of goes down and I have no resistance, so I can just like infinitely shift down. Not a huge fan of that. When I get in first, I want the gear under first to be a hit, or at least like a dampered press. I don't like the nothingness press at the bottom. Not a fan of that. It's not a big deal, but one of the things that sucks is this bike doesn't have a gear indicator, so you constantly find yourself doing that, and you're like, am I in first? And you start second guessing yourself. You never want to be doing that, so not a huge fan of that. And the brakes, we have a set of Brembo calipers up front, and the brakes are kind of overkill on this bike, if I'm gonna be honest. They are very powerful. They get you stopped very quickly. To be fair, I'd rather have too strong of brakes than too light of brakes, but they are solid, and they actually feel really good too. You do get a bit stronger of a bite up front, but it's really helpful when you have a bike that's this heavy to get you stopped and feeling confident that the brakes are there. So I feel like the brakes are like at the same level as the suspension, and this really has me wanting to like rethink what I upgrade on certain motorcycles, because if Olin's can make a bike feel like this and the brakes stop that well, I'm like, how many bikes just need a little bit of an upgrade and they're good to go, Watch the brakes here in a second. We'll do a hard stop right here. A little bit of dive, but for the amount of braking I'm getting, I would expect nothing less. This is not a GS, it doesn't have that cantilevered suspension or whatever the GS's magic it has up front. All right, guys, let's talk about the controls up here real quick. Not really that many, and not too much to talk about. As you can see, it's not that, what do we call it, like that techie of a bike. So, on the right side, we have the ABS button, I guess is what that is, or traction control button. We have the menu button, the turn signals, the horn, and the pass lights, and then finally cruise control. I love the levers they put on here. They're adjustable, and the levers like bend forward, and they put your fingers in such a perfect spot. I love that. The pull on the lever is medium to medium hard or heavy. You are going to have a little bit of weight behind that lever. I personally appreciate that. That's kind of like what I like for a lever. I don't like the really light levers, basically, or the light feel on the levers. On the right side, pretty simple. We have the heated grip button, we have the mode button, and we have the kill switch rocker. The mode button's not bad. I don't, you guys hear me say it, I don't like buttons on the right side that I'm going to be using while I'm riding, because I have to actuate them and the throttle at the same time. Luckily, with the mode button, it's in a kind of neat spot to where I can move this finger over and hit the mode button. So I do appreciate that. The grips feel fantastic. They look a little simple, but they are very grippy, so I appreciate that. I showed you guys earlier the little hidden button for the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. If we do that, can't even hear the bike. if we hit it again. Pretty incredible difference there. And then on the front here, we have the tag that's telling you how fast we're going. And then it has like an old school dash underneath it. And I'm kind of in a mixed bag here because this bike is one of those kind of like urban retro bikes. It's supposed to have this kind of retro feel, and it definitely does. So I do feel like the physical tag telling you how fast you're going is really neat. But I do wish the screen at the bottom was a little more updated. I don't necessarily know if I need a TFT down there, but I would like more information. I would love a gear indicator. I would love something like a RPM gauge. I would love some more info down there, and maybe a more updated screen would help that. So it's like a love and hate. Like, I love the physicality of it because a lot of bikes are going with just TFT dashes now, and that takes us away from having the cool speedo. And if I was going to have anything, if I'm going to be honest, I would have the RPMs here and then the speed down there. I like seeing my RPM needle. You know what I mean? You guys let me know if you're the same in the comments. But if I was going to make my own speedo, that's what I would have there. But overall, a relatively simple setup here, and not a ton to get confused with. This isn't one of those crazy techie BMWs with a little turn wheel. This is a much more simple take on a BMW. I do notice that at low RPMs, the bike gets, it's kind of weird to explain. I feel like I have to rev the bike more than I probably need to, because under no revs, the bike is very content with just lugging along, but it makes me as the rider feel like it's about to stall, but it never does, generally. So that's kind of weird. But anyways, guys, I'm going to pull off up here, and we're going to do a little walk around of the bike. I know y'all been looking at the bike the whole time. Thanks to our sponsors for that camera car footage. By the way, supporting our main First Ride sponsors is a direct way of supporting the channel. They allow us to have that really cool camera car stuff that we get to bring you guys, so shout out to them. But we're going to do a little walk around of the bike, show you guys a few things. I know y'all have seen a ton of it, but there are so many things on this bike. Do we have an empty parking lot? That means there's zero chance of any foul behavior happening in this parking lot today. And for that, we appreciate it. Oh, it's a church. Let's go quiet mode. Let's go stealth mode. Hell yeah. Dude, I kind of love the stealth mode. That's kind of sick. I'm not going to lie. Alrighty, guys. Let's check this thing out. Boop. You know what I should do, guys? Y'all have been saying in the comments that my steering stem lock test has no numerical value or consistency. I think I should always line up with this tree in this parking space. This is 147. Parking space 147 lined up with that tree, and that way we can have a gauge. I should message the church and see if I can spray paint on here. I'm just kidding. All right, let's get this thing cranked up and I'll shut the hell up. Alrighty, guys. The first thing I noticed on this bike is the phenomenal paint job that they put on here. The paint job was from the Wonderlit guys, and dude, I don't know if I've seen a better paint job on a bike, so shout out to those guys. I love that. I want them to paint my MT10 now. But yeah, guys, the yellow on here I love. I hope it translates in the camera, but this is such a standout looking bike. I love the freaking headers. Look, I don't even know what that is. It's like gold, bronzed something. They look so fantastic in contrast with the darker engine. We do have a shaft drive bike. If I didn't mention earlier, that is one of the main reasons that this bike rotates sideways and makes these little moves. The combination of the boxer engine and the shaft drive, because the shaft drive will make the bike move under power, and then the boxer engine makes the bike move under power. So that combination is what is getting us the feelings in the bike we're getting. Something interesting on this bike is the exhaust is on the left side, which is what I'm just now noticing. That's a little strange. This is kind of a cool side of the bike. We get the exhaust, we get the single-sided swing arm with the shaft drive. Kind of freaking neat. Now, I've been on the bike for about 2 hours today thus far, and I gotta say the seat is not bad, but my butt is starting to get tired with that seat. It is a little bit more firm than I think it should be, so I would like a little bit softer of a seat. I love the little rack on the back, though. This is fantastic for just, like, attaching stuff, like whatever the hell you want. Super cool there. Overall, guys, super cool bike. I love, dude, look at the Öhlins matching the yellow perfectly. Little details, dude. Little freaking details. Brake rotors look cool too. I love the shape on those. If I didn't mention it before, we have the Conti Attack Road 4s on this, I believe. All right, guys, that's it for all the little, like, walk-around stuff. Super cool. Love the detail. Everything's in the details on this bike. But I am currently melting, so I'm going to grab my phone off my quad lock, and I'm going to make some content for our peeps over on Instagram and TikTok. We're at C2W Pics on Instagram, and we're at Chaseontwowheels on TikTok. You guys go over there to check out the content we make. I'll be right back. All right, my friends, vertical content is done. You can check it out with the links in the description or go into those tags. Now, we have to decide if this is a purchaser pass and why my camera was on. Then we can say who this bike is for generally. But first, steering stem lock test. We're facing the tree. My balls are burning. Let's do it. Oh my God, so much burning. All right. I do notice that the speedo is still off, so don't know what's going on there. Not a ton of steering stem lock. We're going to see what this is like. And see if Chase stalls it. Not as bad as I thought it would be. I would say bottom 30 to 40 percentile. Let's say bottom 35. Okay, it is too hot to just sit around and not ride. Oh wait, church parking lot. Quieten it down. Quieten it down. What's cool is the exhaust doesn't change the power at all. So you can be quiet mode and still have full beans. That's pretty cool. All right, guys, the question everybody's wondering is it a purchase or pass? Asterisk if you could actually buy this thing, but you probably can't because Continental's not going to sell it to you. For me, guys, I honestly think a BMW RnineT with these mods is an absolute purchase. If you guys have seen in the past, the last BMW RnineT that I rode was a 2015 model, and I did not like it. And I'm wondering if it's because the RnineT kind of exists as a platform for you to build onto and really customize it and make it your own. I mean, you guys know I like being upright, I like being sporty, and while the boxer engine mixed with the shaft drive, while that combination does allow for a lot of kind of moving around of the bike, I do think the Öhlins suspension and the steering damper, that full combo, actually makes this bike phenomenal to ride. I love these levers. Like, I could totally see this as being my... What would it be? It would not be my touring bike, because as we saw, like, the wind resistance is just too much on the highway. It would be my kind of like chill around town, go to bike nights, go do like a little bit of riding, maybe a little bit of mountain stuff. Like, I could totally see myself having a phenomenal time on this bike with that. You got more torque than you will ever know what to do with. It's just overall a really solid package. If I was going to own a BMW RnineT, I would want these mods done to it required. Absolutely required. It literally changes the whole bike. So shout out to Continental for really doing an incredible build. Now, who is the RnineT for? So it is a more experienced rider. I think the weight is there, so you have to manage that. But more than anything, I believe it's the power and the level of torque that this bike has that's really going to require you to be a more experienced rider, so you know how to control that and how to leverage that to have a good time riding. You know, definitely have a couple years of riding under your belt. I believe these bikes do come at an MSRP of around 15, but just keep in mind that I feel like the RnineT is a platform bike. It's there to be a good base that you can turn into whatever you want. So if you are looking into purchasing one of these, just, you know, factor in a certain amount of your budget for customization. It's not going to be cheap. But I bet you can build a pretty stellar one of these for around 20. And granted, that's not cheap. I'm not saying that at all. But it would be a pretty cool, really fun, unique bike to have for that price. overall, guys, this bike's been really solid. I've been shocked at how much of a change that the RnineT can have with a couple very important mods. Shout out to Continental, guys. They drove this bike down and letting us loan it for like a week just to do this first ride for you guys. I really appreciate them doing that. They're by no means had to do that. So if you guys want to check out the tires that this bike has on it, I'll leave links in the description down below, and you guys can check them out. I'm pretty sure they're the same tires that I have on my MT10, so absolutely stellar set of rubber on this thing. And here's the thing, guys. If you made it to this point in the video, I hate to tell you, but you watch the whole thing and you're in the outro crew. So what I need you to do after you like the video, leave a comment down below. Put OC in the front of it. That means I know you made it to the end of the video, because I appreciate you guys even more. You know, since it helps the YouTube channel out when you watch the whole video. But let me know in the comments down below, if you had an RnineT, what are some of the very specific mods you would want on it to make it like the perfect bike for you? And we'll have a little chat in the comments down below. I appreciate you guys riding around with me. You guys ride safe out there. I'm Chaseontwowheels, and I'll see you on the next one. Later, as I burp and continue to, and avoid traffic. Bye. I gotta be honest, I came into this a little worried after my last RnineT first ride, but something is different, and I think it starts with an O. Good times. Cameras going off.